They say hunger changes people, but some hungers don't go away. They grow inside you like roots in frozen soil. They whisper while your fire dies, while your breath shortens, and while your mind starts to wonder, would I, if I had to? You don't eat because you want to. You eat because you must. And that's when something ancient opens its eyes in the dark. The Wendigo is not a story. It's a warning. And in winter, it's still listening. Every culture sees it differently, but some descriptions stay the same. A body that's stretched too thin, skin frozen tight over bone, eyes that don't blink, a mouth that never closes, and antlers like a crown or a punishment. Some say its ribs are always visible because it's always starving. Some say it stinks of cold meat and damp moss. Some say it still wears the skin of the person it used to be. But no one ever says they saw it twice, because once it looks at you, you feel what it feels, and you'll never be warm again. The legend of the Wendigo comes from the Algonquin-speaking peoples of North America. The Cree, the Ojibwe, the Innu. For them, winter was never just a season. It was a test. You had to hunt before the snows. You had to store enough to last. You had to watch the fire every night, because when it went out, the woods weren't empty. Stories were told in whispers of a spirit that walked on long legs through the snow, whose mouth was always open, whose voice sounded like a cold wind behind your spine. It found the starving. It found the weak. And worst of all, it found those who were willing. The Wendigo is more than a creature. It is the form that hunger takes when we lose ourselves. It is winter made flesh. It is the echo of broken taboos. The sound your mind makes when it justifies the unthinkable. It grows not from evil, but from emptiness, from cold that enters the body and burrows into the soul. It's not just about starvation. It's about what we're willing to become to avoid it. When the firewood is gone, when your hands are too numb to pray, when all you hear at night is your stomach, that's when the Wendigo steps forward and says, "You don't have to die. Just change." The transformation doesn't begin with blood. It begins with silence. The silence after your last meal, after your last prayer, after you've counted the days by scratching bone on stone. It begins when the mind starts asking the wrong questions. If there's no food, is a body still a body? If no one's watching, does the rule still apply? You don't grow claws overnight, you grow excuses. Then hunger becomes louder than shame. And by the time you reach for flesh, you're already gone. That's what makes the Wendigo terrifying. It's not a monster that finds you. It's what waits behind your eyes when everything else breaks. In 1878, a Cree man named Swift Runner walked out of the woods after a harsh winter. He had once lived there with his wife, his children, his brother. He was alone, and he looked well-fed. Investigators followed him back to his cabin. Inside, they found bones, broken, burned, licked clean. He confessed. He said something ancient had taken over his dreams, had whispered to him in the dark, had fed him the words, "Eat, survive, I'll take care of the rest." Doctors called it psychosis. Locals called it Wendigo. Even now in medical journals, the name remains Wendigo psychosis. An insatiable craving for human flesh, even when other food is available. Some say it's madness, some say it's possession. But maybe it's memory. The kind that waits in cold places, and crawls back into the blood when you're hungry enough. The Wendigo has stepped beyond the forest. It haunts pages, screens, and dreams. You see it in horror games like Until Dawn, in films like Antlers, in the writings of Algernon Blackwood, and modern legends online. It walks through Hannibal as a black stag. It hides behind metaphors of addiction, greed, trauma. Because the Wendigo isn't just horror, it's hunger as a shadow. A story about what we become when we lose what makes us human. And it keeps evolving, because so do we. The Wendigo is not waiting in the dark. It waits in choice. When the rules fall, when hunger wins, when survival costs more than your body. You are not born a monster. You become one. When you believe the voice that says, "Eat, survive, no one will know," would you survive the winter? Or would the hunger change you first? Tell us below.